What if I told you that right now, in 2026, you could build a stunning, high-design home that actually makes you healthier for roughly half the cost of a traditional house? Not a tiny shoebox, not a shipping container that feels like a prison cell. I'm talking floor-to-ceiling windows, living walls dripping with plants, vaulted ceilings, warm wood beams, and a seamless connection from your living room straight out to nature. That home exists. It's called a Biophilic Barndominium. And in 2026, it is hands down the most exciting, most affordable, and most underrated housing option available to the average American builder. And here's what's wild. Most people have never even heard of it. Yet, by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what a Biophilic Barndo is, what it actually cost to build in April 2026, the science behind why it literally makes you feel better living in it, and the 5 specific design moves that separate a great Biophilic Barndo from a mediocre metal box. Stick with me until the end, because I've saved the most important piece of information for last. It's the one thing most builders completely overlook that can save them tens of thousands of dollars. You do not want to miss it. Real quick, if you're new here, welcome. This channel is all about finding smarter, cheaper ways to build and live. Hit subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a video. And if you know someone thinking about building a home in 2026, do them a favor and share this right now. It might save them a fortune. Alright, let's get into it. Let's start with the basics, because I want to make sure we're all on the same page. A barndominium, or barndo, is a home built around a metal or steel frame structure. Think of the open footprint of a barn, but fully finished inside as a comfortable, modern living space. High ceilings, open floor plans, no load-bearing interior walls cramping your layout. They've been around for decades in rural America. But what's happened in 2026 is something entirely new. Interest in barndominiums has climbed 35% since 2023, and builders across the country are taking notice. But the builders who are really dominating right now aren't just slapping up metal walls and calling it a day. They're combining the structural genius of the barndo with an entirely different design philosophy. And that's where biophilic design comes in. Biophilic. Biophilic. It sounds like a science term, but the concept is beautifully simple. It means designing your home to actively connect you to nature, not just putting a plant on a shelf. I mean thoughtfully orienting your windows toward natural views, installing floor-to-ceiling glass that floods every corner of your home with daylight, using reclaimed wood beams, stone accents, and earthy textures on your surfaces, adding a living green wall that literally grows inside your dining room, letting fresh air move through your space through smart ventilation instead of relying entirely on mechanical systems. This movement has a name in design circles right now. They're calling it the Nature First Revolution, and the barndo is its perfect vehicle. Here's why. Barndominiums already have exactly what biophilic design needs. Tall vaulted ceilings, massive, flexible wall space, simple rectangular footprints that make it easy to install huge glass doors and window walls. Open layouts that let natural light pour in from multiple directions. A barndo with biophilic principles doesn't just shelter you, it nurtures you. And I know that sounds like marketing language, so let me hit you with the actual science. This is not fluff. There's a growing body of peer-reviewed research published throughout 2025 and right into April 2026 that is seriously changing the way architects and builders think about residential design. A January 2026 scoping review published in the journal Buildings analyzed 136 studies from 2000 to 2025 and confirmed that exposure to biophilic elements, green walls, natural light, window views, and natural materials consistently improves human physiological and psychological outcomes. We're talking about reduced stress, improved mood, and better cognitive performance. An April 2026 follow-up specifically linked indoor greenery to stress recovery and pain reduction. That's cutting-edge stuff. A 2025 study published in Frontiers in Virtual Reality put 94 people in biophilic rooms versus plain rooms and measured their stress responses in real time. The participants in biophilic environments showed significantly lower stress levels during recovery, measurable biological stress reduction just from the design of the room around them. And the Global Wellness Institute's 2025 focus on what they call nature-supported environments explored a possible link between biophilic design and brain plasticity. looking at how living in nature-connected spaces may support the area of the brain responsible for memory and emotional regulation. Here's the big picture takeaway. The average American spends roughly 90% of their time indoors. That means your home's design is not just an aesthetic choice. It is a health decision you are making every single day. A sterile, disconnected interior is quietly working against your well-being. A biophilic one is actively supporting it. And the beautiful irony? Getting these benefits does not require a luxury budget. It requires smart design decisions. And that's exactly where the Barndo comes in. Okay, here is where this gets really interesting, and where most housing content either glosses over the details or gives you numbers that are too good to be true. I'm going to give you the honest picture. According to Angie's latest 2026 data, the average cost to build a barndominium is $230,000. The typical range runs from $112,800 on the low end to $504,000 for larger, more custom builds. Now, here is the important nuance for April 2026. While Barndo kit for the raw shell still run $20 to $35 per square foot in materials, labor for steel assembly has spiked. Most builders are now quoting $130 to $150 per finished square foot for a turnkey Barndo once you factor everything in. That's still a massive win compared to the $200 or more per square foot that traditional custom builds are averaging right now in most US markets. For a 2,000 square foot home, here's what that looks like in practice. A finished Barndo comes in around $260,000 to $300,000 turnkey. A comparable traditional custom home in the same market, potentially $400,000 or more. That's a real, significant difference. And that difference is what funds your biophilic upgrades. Speaking of which, if you go the kit route, prefabricated metal building shells still run $30 to $50 per square foot, including assembly. That shell can be standing in a fraction of the time a traditional wood frame home takes to build. Where does the biophilic piece fit into the budget? Early 2026 data shows a shift toward more energy-efficient builds, which includes the natural ventilation and daylighting strategies that are core to biophilic design, adding roughly 5 to 12% to base construction costs. But those choices pay back through lower energy bills long-term. Here's a number that surprises people. A hydroponic modular living wall kit for your dining room or entry. In 2026, you can get a solid DIY kit for under $800. These kits have come way down in price. That's not a luxury item anymore. That's an impulse buy for a committed builder. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention in the Barndo conversation: climate resilience. People aren't just building Barndos because they're cheap. They're building them because they don't rot, don't burn, and don't let termites move in. In 2026, because of the wildfire and high wind volatility we've been experiencing across large parts of the country, steel frame homes are seeing 10 to 15% lower insurance premiums in certain regions compared to wood frame houses. Insurance companies recognize that steel does not fuel fire. That's real money back in your pocket every single year, not just at closing, but for the life of the home. The Barndo's structural advantages also quietly save money in ways people don't always register. The metal frame carries the building's load through the roof system, so you don't need load-bearing interior walls chopping up your layout. The foundation is typically a simple monolithic concrete slab, poured all at once, saving 5 to 10% compared to a traditional perimeter foundation. And steel siding lasts 40 years or more. It doesn't warp. It doesn't crack. It doesn't need to be repainted every few years. Alright, let's get into the design specifics. There's a big difference between a Barndo that half-heartedly throws a plant in the corner and a genuinely biophilic space that works. Here are the 5 moves that matter most in 2026. Move 1. The glass wall moment. The single most impactful biophilic move you can make in a Barndo is installing a full glass garage door or a wall of floor-to-ceiling sliding panels on at least one primary wall of your main living space. When that door is open, your interior and exterior become one continuous space. When it's closed, you still have an unobstructed, cinematic view of whatever landscape is outside, whether that's forest, meadow, mountains, or a well-designed backyard garden. This is not a luxury feature anymore. It's a foundational design choice. And the Barndo's wide, clear span structure makes it easy to execute without compromising structural integrity. Budget $3,000 to $8,000 per opening and install it while the walls are still going up, not after. Move 2. The living wall. A living green wall, also called a plant wall or vertical garden, is the defining interior feature of a biophilic barndo in 2026. Install one in your dining area, along a hallway, or as a backdrop to your kitchen island, and you have something that functions as art, air purifier, humidity regulator, and conversation piece all at once. The research backs this hard. Green walls are consistently cited in biophilic design studies as one of the highest impact single interventions for stress reduction and mood improvement. And the good news for builders on a budget: hydroponic modular wall kits have dropped dramatically in price. You can get started with a solid DIY setup for under $800 in 2026. That's a barndo game changer right there. And in the tall, open interior of a barndo, a living wall scales beautifully. These spaces can handle dramatic floor-to-ceiling installations that would look out of place in a traditional low-ceilinged home. Move 3. Natural materials inside and out. 2026 Biophilic Barndo design is all about what designers call sensory authenticity. Raw stone accents on your fireplace, surround, or kitchen wall. Reclaimed oak or cedar ceiling beams. Bamboo or polished concrete flooring that grounds the space. Linen curtains. Natural fiber rugs. The palette that's dominating right now is what designers are calling modern heritage. Colors and materials that feel like they've always belonged to the land they sit on. Think mossy greens, weathered stone, warm terracotta, and sun-baked clay. These aren't just pretty choices. Natural textures that remind our nervous system of the natural world have measurable calming effects. That's documented in the research. The era of the sterile black and white farmhouse look is fading. This is the replacement. Move 4. Light engineering. In biophilic design, natural light is not just about windows. It's about engineering how light moves through your space across the full arc of the day. In a barndo, your vaulted ceiling gives you a secret weapon: clear-story windows. These are high-set windows installed near the roofline that pull daylight deep into the center of your home, places that standard side windows can never reach. A central skylight above your kitchen island or main living area takes this further. The goal is to make the interior of your home feel alive at every hour of the day, tracking the natural light cycle rather than hiding from it under artificial lighting. This directly supports your circadian rhythm, the biological clock that regulates your sleep, mood, metabolism, and immune function. A well-lit biophilic barndo is literally calibrating your body's systems throughout the day. And clear-story windows cost almost nothing extra when you specify them before the steel frame goes up. That's the move. Move 5. Indoor-outdoor continuity. The fifth move is not a single feature. It's a design philosophy that ties everything together. Biophilic barndominiums are designed so that the transition from inside to outside feels seamless and intentional. A covered outdoor living area that extends your interior with similar materials and furniture tones. Native plant landscaping that frames your views rather than blocking them. Outdoor dining spaces and garden beds are positioned so they're part of your daily visual life from inside the home. In 2026, the best biophilic barndo designs blur the line between shelter and landscape so completely that you almost forget where the house ends and the outdoors begins. That's not just a design flex. That's the entire point. Now, I always give you the full picture on this channel, so let's talk about what you need to watch out for. Financing. Getting a mortgage or construction loan for a barndominium can still be complicated in 2026. The bigger challenge now is actually appraisals. A biophilic barndo, with its large glass sections and high design interior, can be valued inconsistently if your appraiser isn't familiar with energy-efficient, design-forward builds. Before you close on your financing, make sure your appraiser has experience valuing energy-efficient high-design properties. Ask that question directly. It can make a meaningful difference in your approved loan amount. Zoning. And here's a piece of good news your channel subscribers especially need to hear. In 2026, many states passed updated accessory dwelling unit laws and tiny home-friendly zoning legislation that now allows barndo-style builds on smaller lots than was previously permitted. This is a direct result of the affordable housing push at the state level. If you've been told a barndo won't work on your land, it's worth rechecking your county's current rules. The landscape has shifted in many places over the past 12 months. Insulation. Early barndominiums had a reputation for being energy hogs in cold climates because metal conducts temperature aggressively. That's a solved problem in 2026. Spray foam insulation applied to the interior of the metal frame creates an airtight, highly efficient building envelope. Budget for it. Do not cut corners here. Resale value. In most rural markets, barndominiums hold or increase their value, especially as demand for this style continues to grow. In markets that favor traditional homes, resale can be less predictable. This matters most if you think you might sell within 5 years. Okay, you stayed until the end. Here's what I promised you at the top. The one thing most builders overlook that could save them tens of thousands of dollars on a biophilic barndo build. Here it is. Build your biophilic features into the original design. Not as an afterthought, not as a renovation down the road. From day one, on the plans, before a single piece of steel goes up. This sounds obvious, but here's exactly why it matters so much. The expensive version of biophilic design is retrofitting. Cutting new windows into finished walls, adding a skylight to a completed roof, installing a living wall system into a space that was never roughed in for irrigation and drainage. Each one of those modifications costs dramatically more after the fact than it would have during initial construction. The smart version is designed for it from day one. Clear-story windows cost almost nothing extra when they're specified before the steel frame goes up. Running water lines for a living wall when you're already running plumbing is a rounding error on your budget. Orienting your building to capture prevailing breezes for natural ventilation is completely free. It's a compass direction on a site plan. The builders who have cracked the biophilic barndo formula all say the same thing. Every dollar you spend on smart design decisions up front saves you $3 to $5 in construction or retrofit costs later. That's not a theory. That's the math of every project that's been done right versus every project that tried to add this stuff in after the fact. The biophilic barndo is not a trend. It is the convergence of two powerful ideas: affordable, climate-resilient construction and scientifically backed, human-centered design, arriving at exactly the right moment in a housing market that desperately needs new answers. In April 2026, building a home that is affordable, beautiful, durable, and genuinely good for your health is not a fantasy. It is a blueprint, and now you have it. If this video gave you value, the best thing you can do right now is subscribe. I put out new content every week on alternative housing, tiny homes, and smarter ways to build. Drop a comment below and tell me, are you considering a barndo build? Which of the 5 biophilic design moves are you most excited about? I read every single comment. I'll see you in the next one.